Hello there. I've been working from home for just over 7 months now, and here's what I've learned so far. So, over the past 7 months, I have been able to do this sort of work from home in office hybrid, and we've been super lucky in Australia where the cases have been quite low, and so we are allowed this luxury to actually be able to work from home whenever we want or go to the office whenever we want, as long as we're able to stay under a set number of people in the office. Just a disclaimer that this is based off of my personal experiences and how I like to work, and this may not be applicable for everybody. So for me, the first step, obviously, of every workday is actually showing up and being mentally and emotionally ready to work. And I found this quite difficult at the start because when I first started working from home, I had a 9 a.m. meeting every morning and I would set my alarm at 8:50 just so I could roll out of bed, wash my face, and rush to my laptop and start Zoom. And I don't think that actually really worked in terms of getting me mentally ready for work. My head was still in dreamland and I couldn't really get started as early as I wanted. So what I realized for myself is I need to actually set a morning routine that tells my brain, hey, you know what, it's work time now. And for me, I never really had a term for this until I saw an article on the Sydney Morning Herald talking about a fake commute. My fake commute starts with a shower in the morning, after which I do a really quick skincare routine. I might talk about my skincare routine in the morning in another video. It's not as long as my 7-step skincare routine that I do at night. After that, I get dressed and I actually try to pick out clothes that I would be comfortable wearing outside. I don't need to be formal because my office is a relatively informal office. We can rock up in shorts and slippers or sandals if we wanted to. So for me, I won't wear the clothes that I wear to sleep or a ratty white t-shirt to the office. So I won't do that as well as I start my fake commute into my fake office, into my home office. As you can see, this is something that I might wear, just nothing too formal, just a simple polo shirt. Something that I would not be embarrassed to wear if I just got stuck outside of my house. That's sort of what I'm thinking. And the last thing that I like to do is just brew my own cup of coffee via pour over. And I find this method super soothing because it has quite a bit of science in it. It's not as automatic as just dumping beans into a coffee machine and then seeing what comes out. You actually need to watch every step that you do. You need to grind your own coffee, boil your water, pour the water in a specific way. And this is just sort of calling back to my past coffee life, which I'll never really get out of, I think. And all these things I try to do before I check my emails or my Slack. My workplace mostly runs most of its communications on Slack, a messaging app, and it could get super busy and it's really easy to get stuck into it. So what I try to do is I don't really get too into Slack until I finish my morning routine or my fake commute. Otherwise, it's so easy to just leave my laptop by my bedside table. First thing I can do in the morning is pick it up and just work from my bed and never get out of the bedroom. And I find that that doesn't really set my day up for success, and it sort of blends my work life and my personal life way too much for my liking. Now, when I'm actually doing my work, I think what I really underestimated, especially at the start, is the importance of just socializing with your colleagues and friends at work. Now, I started my new job in June and I never got really fully onboarded into a full office setup. So I found it quite difficult to just get a lot of context, make friends, and really understand what was going on because probably like only 20% of the office was in the actual office at any given time. And I think what surprised me about myself is even though I lean very hard into the introvert standard or the introvert scale, I still really crave for some social interaction every now and then. I found that there was a 2-week stint when I actually didn't go to the office and I felt quite down and detached from the rest of the company. So what I've done since then, and if you have the luxury of doing this, you're super lucky. I've scheduled 2 days a week where me and my team can all go to the office together, and that just ensures that we're able to see each other face to face, catch up on what's going on, talk about things outside of work. because otherwise, when you don't deliberately do these things, all your colleagues are going to be talking to you about, and vice versa, are work-related things. And I think that that doesn't really help form a bond with your team, which I find super important in wherever I work. Is I want to be able to get along and be friends with whoever I work with. Now, if you don't have the luxury of being able to go to the office, one thing that you could do is just call up your teammates every now and then and just ask them, hey, what's going on? Ask them about their day, what they did over the weekend, what's the latest thing that they watched on Netflix. Trying to have interactions that are not work related, I think, is super important. Next tip I have is just be deliberate about switching off. We did talk about the fake commute, which was how to mentally prepare yourself that, hey, I'm now going to work. This is the opposite of that, which is once you're actually done from work, I think it's really important that you have a bit of a ritual where you're switching off of work. I found that when I first started working from home back in March, when the pandemic started, I found myself working even more hours than I was pre-pandemic. I saw an article, which I'm flashing now, which is showing that a lot of people saw this as well, where they worked more hours during the pandemic than before it. And I think that's because it's so easy to just keep typing away, keep working, when your office is in the same place as your house, because you're not really chasing that commute back home to dinner. Like, if you had a 30-minute commute back home, what you could do now instead is just work for an extra 30 minutes and then just pop out for dinner. And I found that initially that made it very hard to switch off for me, that I was carrying work into dinner and I was actually working until after dinner, which is quite counterintuitive because you think that if you're working from home, you're working less, right? So I think for me, what's worked is I don't really bring my laptop outside of my study unless I really have to. And once it hits like 6:30 p.m., I just shut this off and leave this here and I don't take it out. And I try not to look at my phone too much, and I usually disable notifications on my Slack and my Gmail. This just helps me mentally switch off and tell my brain, you're not working anymore, it's time to actually do stuff outside of work, like, maybe play video games or talk to your partner or cook dinner or play with your cat. Otherwise, if I don't do this, I'm just going to be consumed by work and I'm going to be thinking about work the whole day, which is probably one of the quickest ways to lead to burnout. And yes, you can get burnt out during the pandemic even if you're just staying at home, because especially if you're an outdoorsy person, a lot of the activities you would have done to de-stress from work are now not available to you. I'm just lucky that a lot of the things that I find fun are actually still attainable for me from my home. Last tip I have is just setting physical boundaries. And I'm super fortunate that I actually have a separate bedroom where I can just make this my home office. So this may not be as applicable or effective to some people. But for me, at least, like I said earlier, I try not to take this laptop out of this office, and I try not to bring in leisurely activities into this place. So I'm trying to make this primarily my work setup. I actually have it such that when I'm doing non-work things like editing YouTube videos, I try not to do it within this office because this sort of forces me to actually work and check my emails and things like that. Now, on the flip side, I also don't bring my lunch here because I try to think of lunch as sacred non-work time, where for half an hour a day I just do all the mindless stuff like scroll through social media or watch basketball, watch YouTube videos, because it's so easy to just slack off when no one's watching you, that if I start bringing in fun stuff into my office, I'm going to do that instead of working, and the effect of that is I'm going to be behind on work and it's going to spill into dinner time for me. So that is pretty much it. Those are the things that I've learned about myself and how I can be more effective in balancing work life and non-work life during this pandemic. I'd love to hear how you've been coping with this work from home setup, especially for those who haven't worked from home in the past before like me. If you liked what you saw in this video, please let me know by leaving a like and commenting down below. Check out all of my other videos popping up right now. Thanks again for watching. I'll see you in the next video. Bye now.